Fire in months. So freeing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Coaching Unit,
Hello, hello.
where anything's possible, and anything's possible in your life as well. So, if you haven't tuned in the last couple of weeks, we've been tuned into this amazing book, U Squared by Price Pritchard. And he talks a lot about high velocity movements and formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness in quantum leaps. And today we're just moving along in ignoring your conventional approaches. And we're going to dive into this very, very short chat. They're all short, but it's packed with enlightening knowledge for you to have a quantum leap. And if you missed what we talked about, what quantum leaps are, go back and watch a previous episode where we go in great detail of what that is. So before we get into today's session, of course, when you're here live, feel free to engage with us. You can ask questions, you can comment, you can laugh with us because we even have, you see, Lou's already starting that for us. So, don't be afraid. And of course, if this really speaks to you, and it touched it, you feel something and it's time for a shift, reach out to any one of us so we can help you with this material, but also help guide you towards whatever it is that you desire, because you desire it for a reason. So speaking for a reason, you attracted this session for a reason. My name is Jamel Matias. I'm a certified mindset success coach / business consultant, founder of Believe in the Unseen. I'm in the Maryland area. I've been trained by the legend Bob Proctor, as well as my peers here. And it's all about believing in that goal, believing in your dream, knowing that it's there and readily actually waiting for you, believing in yourself as well. I help guide you to your truest desires, basically. And also help hardworking but unfulfilled professionals who know they're capable of more, yet they feel stuck in a cycle of effort without progress, or lacking clarity or direction and the subconscious programming needed to create the income and the freedom and the life they truly desire. So I'm here. I'm excited always. And I'm going to pass it on to my amazing colleague who's back, Alicia.
Alicia.
Hey, yeah. Hi. I missed last week. We have Mother's Days here in Sweden. So we were visiting the mother. So my name is Alicia Espinosa. I am in Sweden, and I am also certified coach and a leadership coach, values coach, and I help people who have everything but still don't feel that they don't feel fulfilled, that is empty on the inside. And I also help people, leaders, to be a leader worth following. So that is me, Paul. Short.
Thank you, Alicia. My name is Paul Wooters. I'm in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, and Success Mindset Mentor. I'm also the head of the Leadership and Development Department at the World Life Education Center and High School in Oakville. And I help empower people to understand their potential, their inner potential, to master their mindset, to live with purpose, confidence, and integrity, and to help you live by design, live your life by design and with intention, and to live to your greatest possibilities. I'll pass this over now to my friend and colleague, Lou.
Thank you, Paul. Well, welcome, everyone. We're grateful for you being here with us live. And if you're catching the replay, thank you and welcome. So my name is Lou Perica, and I am a success mindset mentor and speaker and the founder of Prosperous Results. And I work with growth-minded women who many times may be in some sort of a transition in their life, and they just feel like there's more to them, whether it's more success, more fulfillment or more alignment in their life, but something isn't fully clicking. And a lot of the women that I speak with or work with are doing the right things on the outside, but still not seeing the results that they desire. And that can leave them feeling frustrated or confused, like there's something wrong, right? So, what I help them do is I help them understand actually what's driving their current results, how their thoughts, their emotions, their interpretations about things, and their patterns are influencing everything. And once they start to see that, things start to shift in a real and lasting way. And I am excited and not so excited about diving. I was speaking with my colleagues here about diving into these two chapters: ignore conventional approaches. And the other chapter is think beyond what common sense would allow. And these two chapters challenge me, I must admit. So I'm looking forward to diving in with my colleagues and hearing their perspective. Jamel?
Yay.
Oh.
All right. Wow. Speaking of challenges, wow. Ignore conventional approaches. How many people do we know, and how long have we known these people that try conventional approaches towards things that seem to be really big to them in their lives, their goals and their dreams? You know, I love how this starts. Get ruthless about trying something different. Get ruthless about it. The verbiage there is very potent. When I hear that sentence, and a lot of people do not want to try something different. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And doing the same thing, even trying just a little bit different. And the key word is trying. That word is scary for me. You have to be. You don't try. But getting ruthless about trying something. So basically, you want to step out of that common area of what you've been thinking the same, doing the same, and expecting a different result. And the thinking, it reminds me a lot of the terror barrier, because all it is, it's bondage. When you're thinking X-type thoughts in your mind, okay, maybe if I work a little harder. If you missed yesterday's last week, and time is an illusion, by the way. If you missed last week's session on trying harder, watch that, because we all can resonate with that, right? So he says, ordinarily, we achieve conventional growth because we think along conventional lines. We experience reasonable performance gains, reasonable, because we rely on reasonable approaches. So we find ways to make modest improvements in our level of success because we go looking for nothing more. Let today be a wake-up call for you to look for something more. And we'll talk about that in more depth, and I'll set that intro right there. Whoever wants to jump on that.
I'll hop on, since again this one challenged me. Ignore conventional approaches. So I realized that we've been taught, we've learned, and we've been trained conventional ways. When we're children, we see our parents or our caretakers, most of us, go to work, come home later, have dinner at a certain time, maybe do your homework or whatever they may be. And this was so repetitive. And we've learned, and now through social media, we're learning newer patterns by using social media, but this can still be a trap, because eventually social media, something will shift. It's not always going to be this way, but we do get trapped in conventional approaches. And I find myself as well. So what I have been doing, it hasn't been very easy, but surrendering to allow new ideas to flow to me without that resistance. Because I too can be a little headstrong and believe that this is the way it should be done. This is the way that everyone's doing it. I'm going to do it the same way, but maybe put my little spin on it. But what if there's something different that someone really hasn't thought of? But if my mind is so focused on doing the same things the way I've always been doing them, again, it's almost like a hose, right? Where you're not allowing the flow of water. You're restricting it. So for me, I have been surrendering, surrendering a little more while still keeping my foot on the gas. And that's been a challenge for me. But this is what I take from ignore conventional approaches, because I realize I'm doing conventional approaches because I've been trained that way. Society has been trained that way to do things that what you've been doing, but just do it a little harder, do it a little more. And if we keep thinking that way, we don't allow new ideas. We don't allow Source to send us new ideas and new approaches because there is a kink in the hose. So that's what I've been taking from this particular chapter. And again, for me, surrendering and allowing the flow to come to me. And that could be thoughts that you have while walking. You know, I hear many times people get these ideas while they're in the shower, or sometimes it's when you're sleeping. I mean, they can happen at any time. Are we allowing that new idea? Are we allowing it to come to us and then take action on it? Or do we just say, yeah, no, forget it. I don't want to do that. So this for me has been a challenge. So I appreciate reading and studying this particular chapter because it's kind of waking me up once again. Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Lou. It's a tough one because, as Lou said, we are taught to do things a certain way, and we have these assumptions on how to do things. And the previous chapter was, quit trying harder, right? It's always about working harder, working more, putting in more hours, and all that sort of thing. And it's not doesn't necessarily have to be harder, but it's difficult to think outside the box, right? It's kind of scary. Mm-hmm. And I think we were talking earlier, and Jamel mentioned that, it's kind of talking about the terror barrier here too. And we go back to where we feel safe. And so Price Pritchett, who's the author of this book, he's suggesting that really if conventional approaches really produced extraordinary results, then everyone would be achieving extraordinary results. But that, of course, isn't the case, right? So most of the time, we're looking for advice from, the average person, the neighbor, or we follow accepted methods. Like, why not? That's the accepted method. We're staying within these established boundaries. And so we tend to get, average outcomes. Maybe try a little bit harder and you get these little incremental changes or improvements. But when we're talking about, or when the author here is talking about quantum leaps, he's talking about breaking away from traditional thinking and the standard procedures. A little bit scary, but he's suggesting that if you want to really achieve like some breakthrough result, then, maybe the usual rules don't apply, and that the path to, these dramatic or unconventional ways to success can seem unreasonable. So really, I think he's asking, okay, like, question assumptions like, hey, this is how it's always been done, or that's the proper way to do it. And I know Bob would always say to us, that may be a very good way, but there's always a better way. And that's why, technology keeps improving, because there's this healthy dissatisfaction with what happened there? This healthy,
the echo in the mountains.
this healthy dissatisfaction with the way things are. Or, you have to pay your dues for years of experience, but that keeps people operating within the limits, and the limits, they were created by other people. Alicia.
Yeah. When I started my business 10 years ago, I started early, but 100% 10 years ago. And I was looking for what other people did. Like, oh, they did that. Maybe I should do also that. I never stayed, and discuss with myself what I wanted. So I was doing the conventional that everybody was doing this, and even why they were doing that. I know we have a group of all people that are the Bob Proctor's coaches, and people will say, I'm doing this. And I thought that it was also mine. And I was doing all the things that they were doing. And I found myself very frustrated because I was doing the conventional because I thought that is what was expected to me. And it wasn't before, and you remember that I have my different frames, and that is very difficult, to have a frame and you have a way of doing things, and then you see other people doing in another way, and then you say, oh, I should do that, but the problem is that it not fits that. And it is when we try to think ourselves what we want. And this is what we have talking about all the time. You need to have the clarity, and also to be courage enough to change your strategy, not your goals. But it's not like, oh, today I test something and tomorrow I move to another way. It's like how can I do this in a way that is good for me, that I don't feel they shouldn't. Because if I feel like I should do this and I should do that, then it's not so good. It's maybe just the conventional. And I wrote here that the faith in the familiar, it was set trap for us because we go. And it was when I started to see like, what is my genius zone? What I'm very good at, and what is my comfort zone, things that I do this because it's comfort, and how can I create something by combining those two, not just to go to the what is feels familiar or what other people were doing. So for me, it was very important to find my way, even if it's not the conventional way, and feel safe in that I can go outside, like I can go like it's not a box there, trying test this, even if other people were doing other things. It's like maybe it's not for me, but it you need to have courage to go to the other way and not you swim with the fish, because otherwise you will be in the same. So for me it was very important to do, and it is my intention. That is what is my intention here. before I was the conventional way for me was like, if I'm going to do a presentation, I was like, sitting in the computer and sitting or steering and say which picture do I want to have, and then I started to think, but this way is not working for me. I could be so frustrated sitting hours preparing a presentation. And then a coach challenged me and say, okay, what is the best way that you feel calm? So, I love walking in the forest by myself, not even music and so. And I started to set intention like, okay, I have this intention with this public speaking or presentation and so, and then I went for a walk. It's so unconventional. For a walk, I can walk 2 hours, and then this is my intention, this is what I want with this presentation. And then suddenly when I came home, I wrote the presentation. And also, before I explain it, when I wrote my TEDx, I have a TEDx. And also, I went instead of sitting home writing, I went for a 10-day retreat. That meditation retreat that you don't speak with anybody, you don't talk to anybody, you even don't see people in the eyes. For me, it was unconventional to do that. But when I came from that retreat, I have my talk that I just needed to change some, but it's unconventional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. Thank you for sharing those beautiful, examples of unconventional. And if you haven't seen Alicia's TEDx, I'm sure Alicia can share that with you. It's on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good.
It's like you write TEDx Alicia Espinosa and then you see that.
There you go. That's how you find it. Yeah. So ignore conventional approaches. You know what's interesting? I'm thinking about Coach's Corner. This is kind of we're ignoring a conventional approach to sharing this knowledge in a slight way, because we're just talking about how we interpret this material. And we're coming on 2 years now, almost every weekend. That deserves a celebration.
Yeah.
2 years, the Fantastic Four here, if they don't mind me coining that, doing an unconventional method of just talking about this material. Notice there's no slides, all right? I'm sure some of us take notes in the background here and there, but to capture our thoughts. And we're doing something different. And it's not very, it wasn't like logical, like let's plan it this way and do it this way. It's more like, hey, let's get on camera and let's talk about this material. And we're actually living what we're explaining here. Okay. So what I really like here, it says quantum leaps require you to abandon the status quo. So in order to have a quantum leap, to go from where you are, point A to point Z, in a very short period of time, it requires you to abandon the status quo. You have to think outside the box. You have to believe outside the box, right? Just thinking, it can stay just in your conscious mind. Every change happens with belief. So U squared requires an abrupt change in behavior. So the body is an instrument of the mind. So if you're going to change your behavior, right, to just doing something totally that you've never done before. One of my clients, I remember, she was scared she had fear to go on camera. I used to have fear going on camera, but now I can't get enough of it. I have to go on camera almost every day. And it's not about ego, right? It's about service. I know I have a lot to give, and I know I have a lot of lives to change. And that's just an awareness. So I went from conventional to unconventional. So it requires an abrupt change in behavior. So in order to change behavior at this level, you must have a desire, a big goal, something that you've always wanted. And this is how they're leaning on how it's effortless. You don't have to force it, right? Change is effortless, especially when your desire is strong. This is why you have to revisit your goal every day and get clarity on your goal. So it says, try being illogical. Where does logic come from? Oh, here we go. Where does logic come from? It comes from your beliefs and your upbringing, right? Logic is dictated by your paradigm. Really, it is. It's the beliefs that you've been believing probably since childhood up until adulthood. So this is why you have to reevaluate your beliefs. To be illogical, you have to let go of that logical thinking. What is it? If you're in your head, you're dead. Because you get stuck with all this thinking. What if I didn't say something right on Coach's Corner? What if my hair isn't right? What if my tie? You're not supposed to react. What if my tie isn't straight? Right? What if my lighting isn't good? What if I didn't bring that one prop I needed? Right? What if we go over time? What if we're late? Like, listen to all that logic, right? And it's a lot of fear-based, right? It's fear-based logic. So it says ricochet. What is a ricochet? Bounce back. If you're trying to climb over the wall, open a door and walk through. I love that line. If you're trying to climb over a wall, imagine that. Just open that door and walk through. That's the story of the fly. And I remember something beautiful Bob was saying, Bob Proctor, in Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. He was talking about a partnership he was doing with someone. I think he mentioned his name, but the point is, he said, you know what? I like the guy. He likes me. We're doing good things, but we're forcing it. It doesn't feel right. We're forcing it. He said, you know what? I think I'm going to call him after this and let him know what we're doing. There's just something not right there. I think we should stop. So when I heard him say that, force negates. Quantum leaps, like you can't force this. And that's what they're saying. Open that door. And that door is there for you. It's for everyone. It's just, it appears with awareness. And that's what you're getting today. So if you're pushing against the river, try going with the flow. Right? That's basically what Alicia shared. You know, they're swimming with the fish, right? You want to go with the flow, right? Not against the river. It's exhausting. So you must do something new. It says use finesse instead of effort. Ooh, use finesse. Now, I've been watching a lot of classic boxing matches.
Okay.
But, you know, effort in any type of sport, right? There's a balance between finesse and effort. It's almost like when you're in that flow zone, that's finesse. You don't have to try. You're actually connected with spirit on 3 different levels rather than forcing it. And I've seen different fighters try to use effort to win. And even in other sports, we can talk about sports. I know Paul and Lou, we're not going to talk about it. So, you know, finesse allows you to basically get in a flow state and not force effort. So that's just a couple examples that came to mind there.
I wanted to jump in because conventional approaches, and you had mentioned, you said the word fear, Jamel, and what if my tie's not straight? What if my hair doesn't look right? That's an inside joke, everyone. But anyways, why do we stick?
Wait, Lou, wait.
Oh, okay, there we go. Why do we stick with conventional? Why is conventional so deeply ingrained And you really have to ask yourself, well, I'll just point the finger at me. I have to ask myself, what is it that's keeping me or tries to keep me being conventional? Not to stand out. This is the way, well, I should say, this is the way I used to think, even though I still can get caught up in the conventional, but it's not nearly as the way it used to be. But when I look back, I wanted to just make sure I fit in.
Mm.
I didn't want to do anything too crazy, um, because there comes the self doubt that I'll be laughed at. People will think I'm crazy. So I used to just want to just blend. And I know I've mentioned this before in Coach's Corner. If I went into some sort of an auditorium, if there was some sort of an event going on, it could be church, it doesn't matter. I would sit in the back row. I didn't want to be called upon on anything. I just wanted to listen, but be in the back row in case I wanted to head out early or cut out early, right? That was very conventional because a lot of the people that I knew would also do the same thing. Until one day I sat up in front. I went to this big convention and I was into this high paid coaching program. And so I got a special pass and I was able to sit up front. And sitting up front was a completely different feeling. And that different feeling, as Bob mentions, was an emotional impact. That emotional impact was strong enough to shift my paradigm of sitting in the back, just blending. I always want to sit up front now, or at least as close to the front as possible. But that took an emotional impact for me to change that type of thinking, that paradigm. And this is why what we share on Coach's Corner, in order to change or shift those patterns of what we call a paradigm, is three ways: is boom, an emotional impact, something that hit you so strongly, you shifted that paradigm. Constant space repetition of a new idea. This is where most people drop the ball. That's why mentoring and coaching is so important, because we got to stay on you to remind you of the end goal that you truly want to experience. And the other is imagining, visualizing, see it in your mind. And so when Price Pritchett talks about quantum leaps, and Jamela just mentioned, you're talking about the fifth dimension, which now people go, what the heck is she talking about, right? But that's where possibility lives. That's where potential lives. That's where quantum leaps live. But we physically live in the 3D world. So what we're experiencing is all the things that have happened in our minds, in our beliefs, in the fifth dimension. We're experiencing them in the 3D. So we become very familiar with our own patterns. And like Alicia said, they set a trap. The familiar sets a trap. That's why adventures are so exciting, because you're going to do something you've never done before. So in order to do, let's just say we're using the example of business. And if we're doing the same things over and over, we need a new shot in the arm, right? We need something new. And this is why, as Jamel had mentioned about a goal. Now, some people get the sound of the word of goal, but what is the end goal? What do you want to experience in life? What is it that excites you? And then to make that decision and make sure that that decision excites you. But getting back to conventional ways, this is, I think, about the fear and the self doubt is why most stay within the lines, right? Like Bob said, if 98 people are going to the right and two people are going to the left, follow the two people because they're thinking differently. Paul.
Yeah. I love it. I'm going to go back to that line in this book, faith in the familiar. And I think everyone here has mentioned that. And that really does set the trap, because that's where our conventional thinking is based on. It's based on our, past results and the norms which are accepted, the collective experiences of other people, and also avoiding risk. So, this is really talking about, overcoming fear and having some courage. And also, this book also talks about, when you feel stuck or you're stalled, you generally go back to doing what you do best, and how that could be the worst thing you could do, because it doesn't matter how well you can do something if it's the wrong thing to do. And yet we keep trying to do that and just working a little bit harder and, all those things. And it, you don't get the result, or you get the same result, or it's incremental result. So we have to really, if you think of kids and they go out and play, they set things up and do things, the methodology is created along the way just through their trial and error. Right? They go out and they build, ramps to run their bikes over, or jump ramps, or do whatever. You give them a bunch of boxes and they construct things. But the methodology just happens as they start creating things, not like how it was maybe done before. And they'll try different things. And again, go back to new technologies. It's just they're just trying new things. It's science experiments with things, and they're not successful immediately, but they just try different ways of looking at things. So if you're really, you have to challenge the beliefs that are generally accepted, and experiment with new ideas and new approaches. And Lou talked about imagination, one of our higher faculties. So what's in your imagination, also your intuition. Trust your intuition a bit, and start acting before you take action before you feel completely ready. I work with athletes, and they're not confident yet. But they have to act. You want not going to be more confident tomorrow or next week, or they want to try a new dive maybe next week or next practice. They're not going to be any more confident. You get confidence by doing the thing. That's what makes you ready. You just do it, and then you're ready. And then you build your confidence. So instead of asking, what's the normal solution to this, then ask a different question, like, what would an extraordinary solution look like? Or maybe, if there weren't any rules, how would I approach this? So we're really talking about having a little bit of courage, and we keep talking about thinking outside the box, but realize that there really is no box. The box is something that we created ourselves, right? Our own limits. We created this box, and our own paradigms. We talk about paradigms, and these paradigms were created from the time we were born. And so we have these certain beliefs about things, and we don't want to step outside those beliefs. But people generally just retreat back to the familiar methods, because that's what, feels familiar. That's what feels safe. That's what's going to get them approval. They don't want to have resistance from others, or they're going to face criticism or things like that. So people who experience breakthroughs, they accept that there's this temporary discomfort for this exchange for extraordinary results. Alicia.
We have a question there, Alicia, if you don't mind. Addressing that.
What does intuition sound like compared to being anxious overthinking? For me, I will explain how I feel intuition. For me, I recognize the difference between intuition and fear is that intuition will always want me to win, to try things, to it's like feeling like, wait a minute, can I do this? And fear is more like, oh, don't do this. Oh my gosh, this will happen. That is for me in a short explanation about intuition and comparing being anxious or overthinking. And also what I discover is when I take more time for me to be calm, to listen, really listen to what the universe is trying to communicate to me. And and I, as soon as I start to have a discussion about something, then it's like, wait a minute, is that intuition or is the fear that I have fear of something? That is for me. I don't know if you other wants to talk about that.
Yeah, I just want to chime in quickly. So intuition for me, so I've been listening to it a lot more, and intuition comes first, and it's such a soft.
Yeah.
So I used an example. I posted last week. I wanted to go to the library, and I had this little soft thought: go on the website to make sure they're open. Very simple. And I was like, oh no, I'm sure that I know they're closed on Tuesdays. It was Thursday. And I kept having that little thought, but I was paying no attention to it. And actually, I drive to the library. It doesn't open till later that day, like 1 o'clock, and I was there at 11. So I started, when I have that little hint of something, go in the other room, check this, call someone. I have been being more mindful to take the action, but a lot of times it's out of the way that I'm going. So I don't want to do it. And then I find out, oh, the other way is, I think I was sharing with Paul one time. I was doing something and they were asking me for my bank account. And right away, I got that feeling, but they were so convincing. And as I started to listen to them, that feeling was stronger, but it was like I didn't have the courage or something to question it. And then, so my intuition was first speaking to me softly, and then it got louder, and then it got louder. And then I just went, no, this doesn't feel right. And I just hung up. So it was soft, got a little bit stronger, and then bam. So that's how the intuition was working for me. But mostly for me, it's so quiet and so soft because it's only guiding you, but it will never it will never take away your ability to choose. So for me, it's very soft. So I have to be mindful to listen to that very soft suggestion. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Thank you both. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for that question. It's a really good question because how do you tell the difference between the two? Just briefly here, intuition with me is one of my affirmations is I'm being guided by spirit every day. And what I do, I have to quiet my mind and be open to direction. So intuition for me is like a higher power or something that's holding my hand. It just guides me to the next thing to do or where to go or what to say. Because I just open up to the guidance. I let go and I choose faith. And you mentioned, anxious, that's anxiety, and that's fear-based. And we always have the option of choosing faith or fear every day and every moment. So intuition, like was mentioned, is usually the first first receive the message. And you can receive it, you can feel it, you can see it, you can hear it. It comes in all methods, and just being open to it and trusting it. You have to trust. That's what believing in the unseen is all about, rather than believing in the unseen of fear, right? What most people do, unfortunately. And overthinking, that comes with, this is why mentorship is key, because without this guidance, we carry these things, in our lives forever until we pass, without stopping and saying, why am I doing this? Why do I believe? Why do I overthink all the time? Right? That comes from lack of knowing of who you are, simply not knowing. It's ignorance, So, but yeah, you mentioned, okay,
Yeah.
so that all kind of resonates. It takes practice to notice. Yeah, thanks, ladies.
Yeah.
You're
I
welcome.
will just, before I go to comment with the other, we went to, I was talking to a client someday, and I am coaching 1,000 kilometers away from home. So I need to go to the place because we coach on place there. And every day I am waiting for the bus to come. And it's two buses. First is the lila line there, and the other is the red line. And if I take the first bus, it will take me somewhere, but not where I want to come. I need to wait the red bus so it take me to where I want. And I was talking to a client because I say, the thoughts that come to you, you may need to decide if you want to jump in there, and it will take you somewhere, but maybe not where you want to be. So you need to wait and decide which thought you want to jump in and be involved with. And if it's the intuition thoughts, or is the fear-based thought, is something that we need to decide, everybody. So it's just something that they came to me. The
I love that example, the bus.
intuition came to me. So
I love that.
but I go back to what you say, Lou, why we stick to conventional. And it made me think is that because I was talking to a client this week, a leader, and we were just talking about, and he say, yeah, but I am so bad at this. We were talking about leadership competencies that he needs he want to be better at. And he say, yeah, but I'm so bad at this. And I told him the story of my son when he was like 10, 12, like that. He was like, he buy a game, and he started to play that, and he started to screaming, and he say, I'm so bad at this. And I say, yeah, when did you buy this new game? Yeah, today. Yeah. So I understand that you are bad at that game at the moment, but the question is not how bad you are. The question is how good do you want to be at that? Because many times we overestimate a task and underestimate ourselves. And it's when we take the conventional way. And what happens is that we get frustrated. And we get frustrated, so we drown in a drop of water. So it's like we lose all our power because we underestimate ourselves and overestimate a task. And we drown in a drop of water, not in a glass of water, in a drop of water. So that is something that I was talking with my client. And when we talk also about challenge the status quo, it's not just the circumstances, it's our thinking, how we do things, how we feel about things, and how we compare to people. Because when we compare to other people's, then we are creating a life from the frame of other people's and not we're all our own frames. That's what I wanted to say
Very good.
Awesome. I
about
love
that.
it. I love it. Paul, you had anything to add on there?
To Alicia, wow. I think that this really aligns with, when Bob Proctor is talking about paradigms, right? Because our paradigm causes us to just often just think like everybody else or act like everyone else is doing, but then we get the same results as everybody else is doing. And to just go back a little bit on, intuition, it's really about being aware, more awareness. So I think you mentioned that, yeah, it does take a little bit of practice because our paradigm and our brain wants to protect us, oh, don't do that, don't do this. And that's why we get, anxious and we start overthinking. What if that could go wrong? What if, why are we overthinking all the things that could go wrong? Why don't we overthink all the things that could go right instead? Right? But our natural default is, well, we imagine all the things that could go wrong. But start imagining what could go right instead. But sometimes our intuition, it is just a little feeling, like Lou said, it's a very soft thing. It's just maybe I'll turn left here. And then I just dismiss it. Oh, I never do that. Or maybe I should give this person a call. Well, maybe later. But there's something that's telling us. And as Jamel said, maybe the universe is telling us, sending us a little message, a little nudge. Just do this or do that, and then we dismiss it because our paradigm is trying to protect us. It's just trying to protect. Don't do that. You might fail. You might fall down. The answer might be no or whatever or something like that. And it's just getting out and you have that little feeling. Okay, I'm going to try that today. Okay, I will turn right here today. I will get off here. I will look down that path or something like that. Just to do it, just to trust that intuition. It's telling you something. You're getting a sign from the universe. It's just a little nudge, but it goes away really quickly. Just because our natural paradigm is there to say, no, do this, do that, don't do this. And we stay with what we normally do, with what is familiar. And as Jamel said, faith and fear, they both demand that we believe in something we don't see. We can't see either. But our natural default always seems to be the worry, the thing that could go wrong. So, start being excited what could go right. And it's just increasing. I think through all this study, people often ask me, what is like your biggest takeaway? And I think is just awareness, just my increased awareness and just being a little bit aware of those little signs and those little messages that you're feeling or that you're hearing or that just seem to come from somewhere, and to, act on those things. Jamel.
Wow, this is so good. I told you this would be, every session is amazing. Thank you, Paul. Thank you,
you for the
Lisa.
question. Yeah.
Thank you, Lou. Yeah, thanks again for the question. Yeah, so with this chapter, and we said we'll do two, but we had to share some stuff for you today, right? And that's allowing intuition to guide you, right? So you must do something new. You must do something new. And what is that? It's a new approach. And I really think about mentorship. I was totally against oh, I don't need a life coach and I don't need a mentor. I was totally against it. And look what I do. And Spirit laughs. It's like, I told you, Jamil. I was totally against it. I was like, oh, I got all this knowledge. I read all these books and I watch all these videos. I'm good, and I did something new. I allowed intuition to guide me, right? And we mentioned multiple times, faith in the familiar sets the trap, right? So you're putting faith in what you've always been doing. And you spring it when you reinvest yourself and what logically seems like it should work because it usually worked in the past. So you're creating a rut. And I like how this is worded here. To make a quantum leap, you've got to break out of the rut where you've been running. Right? Really think about that hamster on the hamster wheel or just running in place in the same spot. Second guess your routines. Second guess them. Right? Overcome the addiction to your old methodologies and set a new pattern. Right? There's, you know what it reminds me a lot of? There's different ways to success, right? Your success is whatever it is that you want in your life. So it's not just a direct A to B point. It's a squiggly line and zigzags, and sometimes you go back and you go forward, right? Mm-hmm. There's different ways, and all these doors are open. And I like how they mention here in the book here said, if the things you're doing have quit working, stop doing them. Oh God. Right? This resonates, right? Focus on what works. So if you'll just quit what you've been doing instead of doggedly doing it harder, you at least create an opportunity. And he calls it some white space to do something else. Wow. That's huge. Mm. So if it's not producing the results that you want and you've been trying the same thing over and over, you're actually doing yourself a massive disservice. And the last paragraph in the book here, I just want to read that because it sets up the next chapter really well, and it's very powerful. He says, quantum leaps come when you seek elegant solution. This is like when you seek an elegant solution. You ever seen people succeed that it doesn't look like they're trying? And you're like, how in the world are they doing that? There's an elegant solution for each and every one of you, for everyone. And he says, so look for an approach characterized by simplicity, precision, efficiency, and neatness. Right? And when you seek something, seek and you shall find. Right? So it won't be as complex or time consuming as your present struggle. Overall, it will be less demanding of your energies and emotions, and it probably will not be familiar to you. U square calls for a fresh perspective, a deft move, a path, less resistance, and there's a way you can do more with less. You can do more with less. You can do more with less.
What did you say, Jamel?
You can do more with less. All right. So let this really sink in. I said it multiple times to let you hear that and feel that. And that's into your subconscious mind. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to work hard. And this is where you're tapping into your unlimited self. And we're all unlimited beings. And that's why we're here, to reveal that for you and remind you of that. And speaking of unlimited, we have a few minutes. Anybody want to share anything before we end today's session?
Yeah, I want to say something, Paul. So allow intuition guide you. And in order to, because we need this awareness, and in order to let intuition guide us, we need to increase the awareness. And in order to do that, we need sometimes to slow down to speed up. And I call this the lollipop moments. You stop it with lollipop and you think, well, so take more time for lollipop moments and not be so, driving in 150 miles per hour or kilometers per hour, because if you don't slow down, you will not hear the intuition talking to you.
Mm. I just wanted to add this part because, Bob, I remember it was a big pill for me to swallow at the time. You are the only problem and you are the only solution. That was a tough one when I heard that years ago. I didn't want to take full responsibility for my outcomes. So to see yourself with the desired end goal, that's where the solution lies. Where your thinking is now is where the problem is created. The solution is where the end goal, what is the end goal? What's the outcome that you desire? That's where the solution lies. It takes a different version of you to get the new solution. And this also comes with new ideas as well. It takes an elevated version of you for newer ideas to come. I just wanted to share that.
Paul, anything?
Thank you. Yeah. So a couple of things. Here's a question for you, you listeners, and maybe even our panel here. What is one rule, assumption, or conventional belief that most people accept, but that might actually be limiting your growth? So think about that for a moment. And if you're in the area, if they're in the Oakville area, Burlington area, there is a book launched this afternoon at the World Life Education Center, Therapeutic Lies. It is, the author said it's her dementia journey as a care partner. So come for the afternoon of connection and insight into the world of memory loss and the love that sustains it. It's from 3 to 5 o'clock this afternoon at the World Life Education Center, 2655 Bristol Circle in Oakville. And also go on to the World Life Education Center website to check out the upcoming study tours and master classes that we're going to be holding this summer in July.
I love it. Awesome. Before we jump off, I want to thank our viewers that were here live. And it looks like we have a new viewer here. Hey, thanks for showing up and engaging with us. He says, I think that's how I ended up here. First time coming to YouTube Live. So welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. We're here every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And, you know, I'm going to jump on Paul's bandwagon there. This month, we're doing the monthly mastermind. So you'll find that probably on these platforms that you're watching as well, if LinkedIn still allows live there, and also my Facebook and here on YouTube as well for the mastermind. And also another 5-day event this month. Don't have dates for both of those, but stay tuned or just reach out to me as I'm plugging in for the calendar this month. Anybody else? We good?
We good.
Good.
All right. See you next Sunday,
everyone. Thank you.
Have an abundant day. And of course, reach out to us, to set up a complimentary call if this really spoke to you today. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.